Welcome to the Best of series. This group of shows will highlight the best of some of my most popular topics from this season and prior seasons. As we round the end of 2023, setting yourself up to not get hella overwhelmed by the holiday trifecta isn't always easy. So buckle up, grab your favorite note-taking device, and get ready to take action toward the change you want to see. See you inside the episode. Welcome to We Ain't Normal. My name is Charmaine Fuller, and I'm an everyday mom sharing how I navigate my ADHD brain. Each week, we share tools, inspiration, and resources to help you uncover how to reclaim your time, energy, and focus. So thanks for hanging out with me today. Now on to our show.
I think it first starts with being able to set aside time and being intentional about that time that you set aside. I know that everybody's life can get pretty hectic from time to time, but being able to realize that you can't take care of everybody else unless you're, setting aside that time to really take care of yourselves. And in setting aside that time, really being intentional about what self-care looks like for you. Some people may look at self-care as just going to get a massage here, they're going to get your nails done, but taking that space where it's not like you're not crowded with other people. Like, self-care is not always talking on the phone with a friend. It can be socializing and doing things, but sometimes you just need that pause and that moment to yourself to really be able to connect with yourself. But self-care is a really, really big thing that I think, women definitely need to attend to. I recommend like doing kind of an assessment of yourself in the different areas of your life. Like, how are you being fulfilled spiritually? How are you being fulfilled socially, within your job, within motherhood? Like, what are those different areas that you actually need to improve on as it relates to your self-care?
How can women begin to rally the troops?
Yeah. I mean, I think one starts with recognizing that, your tribe is there to support you. They are there to be able to help serve you, just like you're there to help serve them. I think one of the biggest struggle that a lot of women have is, they see like asking for help as them being a burden or not wanting to add to someone else's plate. But if someone else has the capacity to help you, being open to that and also seeing yourself as worthy enough to be deserving of help. But the main thing is being able to identify, what do I need?
Right.
Do I need someone to help me pick the kids up from school? Do I need someone that to just talk to or listen to what's going on in my life? Do I need you to, do I need one of the kids to make sure that they clean up the kitchen today, or make sure that they pop something in the microwave for themselves that day? But it really is about being clear about what type of help you need. What does it look like? And then being able to communicate what it is you need to those people, because you don't have to do it all by yourself. But sometimes we choose to do everything by ourselves because we feel like, we don't want to place our responsibilities or our burdens, and I hate using that word, but we don't want to place that on other people. So just knowing that the people that love you, they want to help you just as much as you want to help them, and being able to be open enough to be vulnerable to share, I need help. It's okay to need help.
What are some of the what are your baseline life assessment questions?
I would start with, am I fulfilled with my current state of being? Like, am I happy at home? Am I happy at work? Am I happy within my friendships? Like, really just assessing those main core areas of our lives and really looking at what are the needs there.
Kind of think about this. I know that I'm not being present when I'm starting to feel anxious. And because when I get anxious, I'm like, okay, all right, and I have to reel myself back in, because if I don't, I will go off on a tangent. I will, in my mind, and I will start, I kind of retreat in my mind, and then I start doing busy work and fidgety things.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Ooh,
and
I'm
like, I got to go do the dishes. And I'll like go wash a plate. And then, I forgot that I didn't vacuum the rug in the living room. Let me go do that. And then I'll come back to these dishes. And then I'm everywhere. And then I'm fussing at the kid. And nothing's really getting done. And then the kids are asking for stuff, and I'm yelling at them because I'm not checking my anxiety. I'm not taking a minute to breathe and reel it back in. I got tired of being anxious all the time. I got tired of what anxiety was doing to me and what it was doing to my kids. It was making my kids fidgety. It was making my kids be on edge. Like, oh, mommy's on edge. So now we're on edge. And seeing that really kind of broke my heart. And so I was like, Avi, I need to reel it back in. Nothing's getting done. My house is in disarray. My brain is in disarray. My work is not getting done. You see on social media in the industry that we're in, oh, you got to post every day. You got to, the algorithm. I was like, you know what? I just got tired one day. I was like, I'm not doing these things. I'm just going to, I took a break and I assessed what felt good to me. I also want to mention, I don't know like what the majority of your audience, but I, being a Christian woman, I pray a lot. And, you know, like, God, you got to help me because I'm about to choke somebody, choke myself. I don't know, the mailman, whoever, because I'm on edge and I shouldn't be like that all the time, And so I just got tired of being anxious all the time because it was wearing me out. Like I said, one thing I do, I breathe. I just take a moment to breathe. I pray. The prayer is a big part of my life, but some of the other, like, I guess, what you might consider unconventional things are, I take a minute to like really breathe and kind of ground myself. And when I was in therapy, my therapist taught me a grounding technique. Another thing I do, which, it might be unconventional or whatever, but I will have a dance party. I'm like, okay, I got to get up. I have to dance. And I will put my earplugs in, or if the kids are not home, I'll turn my Bluetooth speaker on and I will literally just dance to either my favorites playlist. I have a praise and worship playlist, or I might have my trap music playlist, depending on my mood. And I just dance it out.
The mind reading in relationships. And there's several steps to setting up boundaries. The first step is you have to execute them. First, I would say you have to define them. What are your internal boundaries? You know what I mean? Once you have an idea of what your boundaries are, you need to execute them. And after you execute them, and you get into those sticky situations, now you have to follow through. There's got to be consequences. There's got to be some sort of consequence that does not enable people to treat you the way you do not want to be treated. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of fall off the wagon, because it's really hard and it is not easy. And I say this in all my posts is that, no, this is not comfortable. This is very uncomfortable. This is hard work,
Yes.
Very important word. And I think a lot of our emotions stem from resentment. Resentment is an emotion, but I think even if you look deeper, you'll find that there's some unsolved emotions that you may need to process, you might need to communicate, and you need to work through. One of the most empowering things I've done, a strategy that I used, is make a list of every boundary I want set. And when that boundary is broken, what feeling arises for me?
Oh. So
instead of just saying I'm resentful, what does that really mean? Let's break it down, So I'll give you a quick example. When your spouse does not help you with the chores at home, when he doesn't put his fair share in, how does that really make you feel? It made me feel at least unappreciated.
Yep.
It was frustrating. It was more than just resentment. Like, I had to dig deeper. Like, how does this really feel right now? And there was a whole bunch of emotions behind just resentment, right?
Exactly.
And then it's like, okay, well, I have to communicate that now. I have to let him know that when you don't put your fair share in this house, I feel unappreciated. I feel frustrated. This is why I look a certain way and you're not getting it. But we can't expect them to mind read either,
Right.
So like they're not gonna know that the people in your life are not going to know how you feel unless you actually tell them. And that's one of the biggest things. I think that's why there's a lot of frustration in relationships. And, that's why a lot of relationships are difficult, because we're not being honest. We're not being fully upfront and direct. And I think that's very important. And that's why I talk so much about healing not being linear, because we're not just gonna stop growing at any point. There is no end point. Like, there's no, point where it's like, okay, thank you, I'm done healing, I'm gonna go now. Like, that's not gonna happen. It's going to continue. It's gonna be filled with ups and downs, and kind of just learning to navigate as you go, right?
What are some of the daily practices that you have for yourself to just take care of you?
Such a huge thing. I think when I actually discovered I need to take care of me, even just realizing that, right, is like an epiphany. Like, wait, I deserve a moment alone. And I think getting rid of that guilt, putting the guilt aside, and working it into my schedule, just making it, like you said, a daily habit. My biggest thing, I think the number one thing that I did and do, is just be outside and take my time for my walks. That is such an important thing to me, to connect with nature, to be active, be outdoors, get some sunshine. I mean, really, it does wonders for you. And I know some of these things are so simple. That's the funny part, is that when you speak and you're like, wait, do you spend time outside? Do you meditate? Do you journal? And it's like, wait, like, that's all? And I'm like, yes, no, really, that's all. And that's really what it is. We have to find our joy again. We have to get back intact with what brings us our peace, our happiness, our joy.
So much emphasis is placed on finishing things. It's placed on our worth being tied up in finishing, not on being present. And I don't know about your neurodiverse brain, but my neurodiverse brain is always future casting. And so focusing on finishing for me and focusing on the end game sometimes can be a very fine sliver of wire. Not the strong shit, but that, that 50-cent yarn. I mean, not yarn, but thread that you used to get from like Joann Fabrics, that like maybe it could do a sock, but it wasn't going to keep it strong. And sometimes that can be a real slippery slope, even for me, even though I know, and I've said a lot, focus on the end game. I want to clarify some things as we move forward, because it's tough out here in these neurodiverse streets, and trying to navigate, not only your own neurodiversities, whatever they may be, but most of us have kids that are also neurodiverse, and probably spouses that, if they're not neurodiverse, they can just sometimes be damn interesting. And helping you to release the pressure of trying to finish it all, trying to force your brain into this box of perfect checklist and crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's is stressful. Even for neurotypical people, it's stressful. But for those of us whose brains oftentimes have this really weird struggle of trying to fit in, just in general, trying to make sure that everything, that we're not viewed as failures, or we're not seen as dropping the ball. We want to be good mom, wife, et cetera, that a lot of the times what we are attempting to do is just insane. The more you know, the less anxiety it produces. The more clear you are, the less anxiety it produces. However, getting clear is anxiety producing, because now you have to think of all the steps. And like, it's like this evil little circle. The clearer you are, the less anxiety you have. But in order to get clear, you have to go through some anxiety to get to the points of clarity. Like, it's just weird. But in order to make that easier, I want to invite you to get clear, but just get clear in smaller sprints. You don't have to try to plan out your next year. Girl, start with your next week. The second thing that I want to invite you to do is simplify. What's yours? What's not yours? What can you delegate? Where do you need to enforce boundaries? Because I know you're really good at setting boundaries, but where do you need to enforce them bitches at? What boundaries have you already set with either yourself or someone else that you're just not enforcing? The other piece is creating some form of a system habit for yourself, whether that's going to be learning how to block your time, organizing it in a way that works for your brain. You don't have to finish it all. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it freed you to see your life a bit differently. Make sure to check out those show notes in the description for a full rundown of today's episode with all the important links and resources. If you want weekly exclusive episodes with me personally, make sure to sign up for my Simplify My Life newsletter. I'd love to know what you enjoyed about this episode, so leave a review to let me know how I can continue to support you. So Mama, I want you to know, you're doing much better than you think. You're further than you believe, and you're worthy to have it all. So until next time, stay weird and keep doing you, babe.